righty. Welcome one, welcome all to the GENx podcast, the GENx Revolution. I am your host, Dr. Ron Davis, and we've got a special treat tonight for you, fam. We've got a group of gentlemen who have been fighting the good fight for us. You've heard from them earlier. You've heard from Kahari Nash. You've heard from the Byrd brothers. You know, you've heard from even Representative Joe Towns, and now we have a new gentleman tonight who's actually been with the fight from the very beginning, but he's a first-time individual on our call tonight. This is none other than the man that needs no introduction, but none other than the man, Wallace Gator Bradley. That's the full name. That's the first time that I'll give the first and only time I'll give the full name. After that, it'll just be I'll be referring to you as Gator. Is that all right there, Mr. Gator?
Yes.
All righty. Very good. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for giving me a little bit of your time this evening. I know there's been a lot going on. Fellas, you've been quite busy over the past 48 hours, right? So I think you guys have just kind of gotten off the road this evening at this very call. But tell me what's been going on? Somebody just jump in and tell me what's been going on in the last 48 hours.
Wow.
We have been trying our best to bridge all gaps. We're trying our best to stay focused, stay diligent, stay informative, stay in touch with the pulse of America. And it's really a perfect time for us because we've been talking about systemic racism. And as you know, there is nothing more important going on in America right now than systematic racism, justice, equality for all.
Mm-hmm. All right. All righty. Anyone else want to chime in on that? Gentlemen, we got a potpourri of gentlemen here tonight on this panel. So, feel free to jump in.
This brother Gator, I want to say what we're showing too, that this is the new world order of a civil rights movement. Let it be known that McDonald may feel like they Goliath, but we just the stones in the bag that David had when he met Goliath. And our stones are stones of truth. And we're working with verifiable, documented facts of all the wrong that McDonald has been doing to us as a people. And that's one of the reasons that we came with the phrase of don't be McFooled, FOOLED. So I'm from Chicago. You got brothers from all over the country. And one of the things that I admire what this movement is doing is called telephone, telegram, and telenegro to get it out. That's the power of your show. That's the power of all the other shows. And I know you're going to probably make mention of one of the most profound things that I've saw in this movement thus far. There's been a lot of them. And that is that investigative story that was on Vice.
You are absolutely right there, Brother Gator. I'm actually you've actually kind of given us a perfect segue into that question. So if we can move along, gentlemen, let's talk about that star power. Jim and Darrell, I had an opportunity when I first got introduced to your story. I think it was the Chicago Sun-Times that did an excellent piece on you guys. And, with the newspaper medium steadily phasing out and going into, the electronic version of a paper, because, I'm old school. I like to, a lot of our listeners like to pick up books. We like to pick up newspapers. But, with the changing of the time and changing of the guard, we have to make certain that we can keep up with how technology steadily pushes us forward. And so with that being said, one of the mediums that's always in play, it's got to be what's televised. And as Brother Gator just mentioned, the star power that you all have developed. I mean, I was floored when I turned on the television. I think it was Vice Television, and I read, or I at least saw, a story that was compiled that really got to it appeared to get to the essence, the crux of the matter of what this whole "Don't Be Fooled" campaign is all about. And so, in seeing you on Vice TV, kind of, Kahari and Darrell and Jim, Gator, tell me how did that even come about in the first place?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking that. And also thank you for allowing us to be on this show. You mentioned technology, having the ability to interact and interface with people around the world, as your show touches all continents, and I'm very proud to be a guest on it. But we've been able to utilize the power of that, but we've also always remember where we come from. And so you mentioned that we have been busy, and indeed we have, traveling this country. We were in Atlanta last week, I believe it was, on Friday, or a couple of weeks ago, April 1st, time goes fast. That's where we really kind of launched our ground game. We started in Chicago, and then we went to Atlanta and had a wonderful reception. The NAACP and the Urban League were extremely supportive. And I think one of the most important takeaways I took there was the activism there, how much the movement had already been known. And so we have been in the system for quite some time as operators. I've been in since 1998. Coincidentally, I came in under turmoil, tumultuous situations, because we were demanding, as we are now, that we begin to put more African Americans into the position of ownership, hence in the position of equity building. So in 1998, I was blessed and able to come in after being offered 3 deals that were unacceptable to my standards, and then being told that I'd never ever become a McDonald's owner operator. Ted Lyons, the gentleman that was my regional vice president at the time, he's now a current operator, as I am, in the Nashville field office, which happens to be one of the target field offices that we've targeted. We were there today, actually, because we have the worst numbers in the country. So as we go along, you're going to see that we're not asking for things that are unreasonable. And we were very intentional about making sure that we were asking for things and not even asking anymore, that we're demanding things be changed, because we were talking about these things when I became an operator in 1998. We were talking about these same issues in 1984. These are all documented court cases. But we were also talking about this in 1968 when we came into the system, because as you know, when McDonald's was founded in 1955, well, of course, Black people were not allowed. And we couldn't work there. We were just unwelcome. We were in America, we were United States citizens, but when McDonald's opened, we were just, as Black people, then I think it was colored people, we're just not allowed. So we came in under tumultuous situations. So the star power, like you mentioned, being on Vice News, the thing that just came to us. And that's why I know that we don't have the $200 million marketing budgets. And I can't get Jay Balvin and all these guys. I can't do all that and get all these people to say a lot of stuff about us. But what you'll find thousands of people that really speak to us because they know our hearts, because we've touched thousands and thousands and thousands of people over these last 23 years that I've been in the system. And those thousands have multiplied, where we have trained assistant managers to become managers and supervisors that have gone on to law school, where we started a crew person that is now my dentist, where we are training tomorrow's teachers. And so having an opportunity to do that, we've never asked for anything. But when people found out what this movement was about, and they found out that, man, these guys are literally putting themselves on the line. We're not former operators, we're current. I mean, I have restaurants right now. I had 4, I'm down to 2, which is a negative position for me. I like growing. But we put everything on the line to make sure that, not for the Byrd brothers, it just so happens that the world is coming on to us. The world is embracing us, and it's overwhelming. But they know that our mission is real. So we don't have the big time marketing budget, but what gives us 100% confidence is we have the heart, and we have the hearts of America, not just Black America. We have the hearts of America, the new age America, the one that doesn't care if you're Black or if you're white or if you're Asian or if you're Hispanic, the one that doesn't really care about that, the new world. And as older statesmen now, or elder statesmen as we are, my brother and I, we're the old heads, the old guys on the block. But we're the active old guys on the block. We're the intelligent old guys on the block. We're the old guys on the block that's got some battle scars. We've been bruised, dented, and beat up. But we're the old guys on the block that never give up. Never. There's not an inch or a bone or a drop in my body that ever says give up. My daddy didn't raise us that way. So that's how we roll.
So, Doctor, if I could, one of the things that we've been talking about is the average sales, white versus Black. It hurts me to even have to talk about it. But if you're white, you have sales that'll be $2.9 million average.
Facts.
If you're black, it's 2 million. So it's $900,000 difference. And that's a lot of money. I don't care where you are or how you look at it. And if you times that by the number of black stores, let's just say round it off to $1 million. And we got about 1,300 stores. Now, Kahari and Gator and them, they're some good financial folks, but that's $1 billion some dollars, right?
Right.
We're missing $1 billion just to be average, not to be above, just average. And Darrell mentioned we were today in Nashville at the rally that Gator's organization hosted, and were so gracious to invite us to come and speak. But the field office, it's $140,000 difference per store, per operator. So $140,000. I got 2 stores. That's $280,000 that I am not able to generate, and it's the largest cash flow gap in the country. And that is, I just saw Brother Town shake his head. It's like that is it. It's just not. It's not fair. And so we've just been telling people about that. And the operators, our base has gone from 377. We're less than 180 now, so that's declining. The sales are declining. The cash flow is declining. And in today's world, it's unacceptable, totally unacceptable. And that's why my brother and I have filed the lawsuit against McDonald's, the class action. That's why we're standing on it, as Brother Kahari would say. And if not now, when? And we were the ones that decided to stand up with great tutelage and representation from many, many people. We decided, if not us, who? And our, if not us, the who has grown from a few to many. And that is one of the most gracious things that has hit me, because a lot of people will talk the talk, but a lot of people won't walk the walk. And brothers and sisters who are listening, you have a group of people now who are willing to stand up. And as Brother Nash says, I'm standing on that.
All right. Thank you for that, Jim. Thank you for that, Darrell. I'm going to go off script and just kind of ask you, because Jim, you were kind of giving us the numbers. And I know that a lot of times when people, when they hear the numbers, an old saying that used to go with, some of the, my statistics teacher would be very proud to hear, he gave us this line that people lie, statistics don't, numbers don't. So now, just to kind of go off script, because I know we had some questions that we talked about earlier that we're going to ask, but Jim, since you've kind of opened that door for the listeners and the viewers now to kind of walk through that, it really kind of feels that the numbers are going in an opposite direction. And I know that's really not for business. If I can remember another professor from B school who told me that the purpose of business is to make money now and to make more money in the future. So now, maybe you can kind of elaborate for our listeners, what's kind of going on with that? What is McDonald's, when I say McDonald's, I'm thinking of the entire corporation, the entity. What is it that they're trying to get accomplished? And if your numbers, and I'm assuming now you'll have to clarify this for our listeners and our viewers now, those numbers that are going in the opposite direction, is that mainly just for African-American owned stores?
Well, the disparity that I speak of, I want the listeners to understand and be clear. Those are not numbers that we manufactured or made up. Those are numbers that McDonald's gave us. Okay. And there was I call them 2 dynamic ladies who were whistleblowers in our mind, but they filed a lawsuit before we did. Mm-hmm. And they were corporate executives, and they had some very interesting, detailed facts from an insider's point of view. And I might mention, at one point there were 47 Black executives in McDonald's under Don Thompson's tutelage. Mm-hmm. And that number also declined to 7. So wow. In every category there's declines. Now, business is not really to decline. Keep in mind, McDonald's picks all the real estate. McDonald's makes those offers, and it just so happens, not by happenstance, but all the good stores or the high volume seem to be in the white hands. That's why it's closer to 3 million. And if you're black, it's 2 million. Now, some people would say, just shut up and don't complain. But there's a brother in Chicago, out in California. His name is Reggie Webb, and he's one of my guys. And Reggie just sold out. He's selling his stores. But Reggie always says, we're not trying to hurt the goose that laid the golden eggs. We just want some more of them eggs. And matter of fact, we just want the same eggs you do. Because in 2021, we are sick of asking to be equal.
Okay. I appreciate that. So now to go back on the script, and again, I think that what you just said, Jim, was quite relevant. And to go back on the script, let's ask another question. So, getting back to the whole media piece, and like I said, to watch that interview that you gentlemen had on Vice TV was nothing short of phenomenal. But I wanted to just kind of ask a little bit, what are some of the other media outlets who picked up the "Don't Be McFooled" campaign? Tell me about that.
Well, this is Jim, and just let me be brief on it. It's been amazing from the time that we started when we filed the lawsuit. The media, the outlets, I mean, it went everywhere, and so people are very interested because systemic injustice is not being tolerated anymore, and it is something that's in the forefront. And when you have the numbers and you have the fortitude to press it, of course, people want you to shut up sometime. But as Brother John said, there's good trouble, and that's what we're making is good trouble and bringing it to the light. My brother Darrell sometimes says, pull the sheet off of it so we can take a good examination. And Kahari will say, just open it up. Let's talk about it. Let's get to the facts. Well, that's what we're trying to do, and that's what the media has helped do. And Brother Gator Bradley, he coined the phrase, "Don't be McFooled," and it unveiled in Chicago that he invited us to. We had a chance to go and support him, and that phrase is just stuck and caught on. And really, it is. I know we'll talk about it some more, but it's a beautiful thing that's really happened. A lot of word of mouth street fighting.
Okay. Well, that's still relevant. That still works, right? The street fighting, right?
Yeah. It do, because I want to say this, because what the representative is showing, that the movement is growing. We went from civil rights organizations joining us in Atlanta to when we came here, and like they explained, because I'm learning with every step, okay? And when you find out that Tennessee or Memphis has the widest gap in the whole country, and then to have the representative and another representative stood together, and Brother Towns, you could explain your move, because I'm just learning.
Absolutely. Well, initially, let me thank you for having the wherewithal to host the show and reveal the kinds of things that are plaguing our community in a negative way. And certainly want to thank the Byrd brothers and Kahari. Want to thank the Byrd brothers for their courage.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it takes a lot of manhood, man, to stand up and fight and champion something for other people while you're still doing business with the enemy. I'm calling them the enemy right now because they've been stealing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no incident that you can set up a scenario where those things that he pointed out happen accidentally. Same thing in politics. These things are orchestrated. The membership in terms of owners going all the way down to 186, the top executives going down from 47 to about 7, the doggone strategically locating African Americans in areas where they are $1 million shy, the cockamania that they do in terms of you don't own your own real estate and paying them money and you have to pay the taxes, all that stuff. They got a pimp game. McDonald's, they're pimping our people, and then they're making them carry a heavy load, and they're not allowing them to do good and honorable, fair business. They're cheating, and nobody likes a cheater, okay? Don't be McFooled is a statement we're going to stick with because it in one little sentence, it tells you that we're not going to be deceived by the pretty commercials you have and the people that you pay to come on television, the black commercials that you have. If our operators are not making money, right, you are making a fool out of the black community, and we're going to uncloak you. There's no different than what the rest of these corporations are doing. They've been doing it. But today, we're uncloaking your butts, and we're coming after you. Mm-hmm. I'm an elected official, been in the game for a very long time. And one thing we don't do is run from a good fight. And this is a good fight that's going to spread throughout America, because no one likes the game to be rigged. That's right, against African-American people, or anybody for that matter. We playing by the rules. The Byrd brothers been playing by the rules forever, doing good work in this community, hiring people, training people. We're still on? Yeah. Training people. Low tech right now. Training people, giving back to this community. I've been working with them for about 30 years in this community. Always got to give in the heart and want to uplift in this community. And I'm not going anywhere, okay? Because it is a deal that's going to grow in the groundswell. And the more people that know through this media outlet is so critical, the more people know, just like that verdict today, we're going to find McDonald but guilty. And they need to pay the damn money. They need to pay these people. This class action suit, they're asking for a little bit of change. It's chump change to them, but it's a lot of money to the operators. They need to double it. They need to pay these people and then change their operating program. Insurance companies have been crooked in our community. Business corporate companies have been crooked in our community. Everybody wants to take advantage of black people, okay? Everybody does. And when we see it, it's fine to make a fool out of me if I don't see it, but we know what you're doing. And we're not gonna stand by like a bunch of children don't take it. We're coming after you. We're coming after everything you got because it belongs to us. Right. Because you hadn't treated the people right. Play fair, you won't have any trouble. Don't play fair, you're gonna have plenty of trouble in this community and abroad, because we're gonna tell the truth. We're not gonna lie on you. You've already done the lying. You've done enough lying for the next 50 years, next 100 years. You stole enough money for the next 100 years. But we're gonna tell the truth on you. We're gonna expose you for what you're doing in this community. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. As I said earlier today, I don't even like the taste of McDonald's anymore. I don't eat them anymore, unless I go to the Byrd Brothers store. That's the only place I'm eating them at this particular point in time. But you're gonna have to be made right. Y'all have to do them right. And this is the reason I offered a letter, and this is happening around the country for us to divest our money from the state of Tennessee for people that are not good corporate citizens, won't play fair, take our money out and invest it somewhere else. Don't invest in McDonald's. Pull the money out. Invest in the people and companies that are going to treat our community fairly. We want fair treatment, and we want it now, and we're not going to tolerate it. We see it. We know what you're doing, and you're going to have to make it right, because we're not going anywhere. We're not going to go anywhere. Just as sure as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, we're going to be on your butt about treating these people right. That's me from an elected official standpoint. We're going to do this around the country because they're elected officials. These are our fights. These are things that we're concerned about. You got people that are honorable businessmen. These are not dope dealers and thugs and hustlers. These are fantastic businessmen in this country that thought they could do business with you all in a fair way and embrace the American dream, but you cheated, you lied, you stole. And that's what they're doing. You're lying, cheating, and you're stealing. And you have to deal with a thief. You have to deal with a liar. You have to deal with somebody stealing your wherewithal. Take all the resources out of our community. You do it all over the world. All over the world, in Africa, and everywhere. You steal it. Stole the whole country, stealing all the doggone people working for free, and now you're stealing money from businessmen that want to play fair. The jig is up. The jig is UP. That's for McDonald and all the rest of you chumps out there taking advantage of the black community. We're sick of you all with that nonsense. Nobody likes a thief. Dealing from the bottom of the deck is what you're doing. That's right. You're cutting. You're playing foul, and so we got to come after you. And we after you. It's only going to grow. You better solve the problem before it gets worse, because you're not going to get away. You're not going to get away. You're busted.
Representative Towns, you know, I got to say, I've never known you to be the type of individual to hold your tongue. I mean, my only follow-up to that is tell us what you really think, you know?
You need to come up off that money. and have those systemic changes in their program and get on the front line with us, help us fight against racism. These people know what they're doing. We don't have to tell them. Do what's right. Don't pretend to be righteous. Live it. Exhibit righteousness. How you gonna find better men than this and women than this than to put forth their money, working all these hours, hiring people, doing all this stuff in the community, then you cheat them out their money at the end of the year? That's that old trick they used to do when we pick cotton in this country. You got the scales weighted in your favor. It's the same tactic. It's the same thing. You never get out of debt. You're running and working your butt off on the treadmill. At the end of the day, you owe the man. Well, they owe the man because they're not making their fair share. They still owe the man. We know these old games. We know these old games. Because you put a suit and a tie on, don't make you an honest, honorable man. They got larceny in their heart. They have theft in their heart. And I say, don't be McFooled, ever.
All righty. Did somebody have something else that they wanted to say? I heard someone getting ready to interject.
I must have been Kahari because he got the history.
Yeah, Kahari. I'll organize.
Kahari, I tell you what, man. Since they put you on the spot, I got a question for you.
May I say this before Kahari come in? Let me share this with you. The other gentleman that accompanied me with the press conference today in Nashville, and as you said, these guys covered about 450 miles a day just in a little bit of time. His name is Representative Hakeem, who's out of Chattanooga. Okay, he's on board, and then we're gonna have others. We do the press conference there in Nashville, the elected officials there again that'll be involved in from across the state because we want it right. These are economic heroes in our community. These are the men that when I talk to kids that I want them to look up to, not no damn basketball player, while that's okay, not no sports and entertainment. This is hardcore business. Okay, we want them looking up to these business guys and emulating these business guys. And girls, so to speak, business guys and girls in our community. Okay, business people in our community. That's what we want these people to look up to, the young people to look up to. Not this other nonsense all the time. Okay, they're keeping us out of business. They're strategically keeping us out of business. They know what they're doing. This is not an accident, man. Okay, this is not an accident. Car wreck is an accident. This is not an accident. This is on purpose. And we're gonna have to deal with their butts on purpose.
Understood. Thank you for that, Mr. Representative. So now, Kahari, we're going to go ahead and shift to you. I got a question that's aimed directly at you. Let's start. So pressure on a coal produces a diamond, right? So with all of this pressure that's being placed on McDonald's, tell me, what's going on? I mean, is with the momentum shift currently in your favor, and that's what it appears to be, from where I'm standing, surely McDonald's is, they've tried to settle with you guys, right?
Nah, McDonald's has they done lawyered up, they hunkered down, and they going for scorched earth, and so we're gonna give them scorched earth, So that's the pressure. That's that compressed carbon. Like you were saying, that compressed carbon creates a diamond, and that's what happens over thousands of years. And we've been mistreated for over 400 years in this country. So it's time for these diamonds like the Byrds and Brother Gator and Brother Towns, and what I'm saying. It's time for them to be cut and polished. What I'm saying, so they can shine. McDonald's been shining a long time. Them arches, man. Listen, the Black community been shining them arches so gold. Listen. When you ride down the freeway, don't you see them?
I do.
They lights shining real bright. It's because of us.
Got it.
So now it's time for us to shine just as bright as they are, because we are the reason why. And we need to stop. We need to stop marginalizing ourselves and accepting being marginalized. You know what I mean? Fear. That's right. Well, I ain't scared of. Well, I'm scared of her.
Oh, we ain't got the wrong crew, baby.
You know what I mean? I ain't like. Listen, I stand on 10 toes every day. Walk. Listen, it's like NFL Hall of Fame Jim Brown told me. Say, listen, Kahari, listen, I can take care of this right here. This circle around me with the ground I'm standing on. I can hold this ground. You know what I mean? So we're gonna hold our ground. We're gonna take the fight to them. They done stood on their neck since 1955 when Ray Kroc franchised the first McDonald's, and listen, black people weren't even allowed to work in McDonald's.
Wow.
They weren't even allowed to have a franchise until 1968 when they took it. Wow. You know what I mean? They had to take it. Just like now, we got to take it. You know what I mean? And listen, I'm all about taking something now. You know what I mean? If you don't want to give it to me, listen. But it's what's owed to me. I ain't taking nothing that's not owed to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm taking what's owed to me. What's owed to the Byrds, what's owed to all the people in the black community. Because we've been totally McFooled. And you know what I mean? We had a little exchange, Brother Towns and I had exchange with Cheryl Gwynn, the president of the NAACP Nashville. They was like, we didn't even know this was going on.
Wow.
You know, I had email exchanges with the Urban League of Middle Tennessee, you know, Clifton Harris, the president, CEO, you know, so they don't even, they doing their homework now. They getting caught up. So we that's what I'm saying. We waking people up. We gonna keep waking them up. You know, our next move is when the fall come and football season kick in, you know, these HBCUs, football season, it's like the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
So we're gonna put a street team together and we're gonna hit every last black football classic in the country. And we're gonna tell them, don't be McFooled. We're gonna have us a big don't be McFooled tent. And listen, and we're gonna have the literature at the don't be McFooled tent, you know what I mean? And we're gonna educate our people because, you know what I mean, because the miseducation of the Negroes is why we have been in bondage. So when you free your mind, you know what happened, right?
We'll follow.
There you go. So let's do it. You know what I mean? Listen, we ain't laying down. We ain't bending over. We is not gonna be bought.
That's right.
Not for no pennies. We're gonna be bought. We're gonna be bought for the dollars and cents that we represent. We ain't gonna be bossed. So that plantation, listen, that plantation that they've been serving all this McFool on. Listen, man, listen, they're gonna kick that up under the rug. We're gonna start all over. Like I told you, they want sports shirt. We finna get to them.
Okay. All right.
You know what I've learned from this movement, and like I say, I'm learning every day, every second. That's why we always point back to the teacher. You know, that's Brother Kahari. When I see that they went from 377 black franchises, and yet at the same time, they created 10,000 more franchises.
That's amazing.
10,000 more franchises.
Wow.
You follow what I'm saying? And the thing that gets me is the arrogance of McDonald's, the greed of McDonald's. For them to do right, regardless of what the cost will be, it will be a business write-off for McDonald's to do right. I want you to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a business write-off for them to do right. And what we doing is educating the people to let them know we're not trying to destroy the brand. We're trying to make the brand get right now that we know. Okay? I just learned how the chicken game went. Well, McDonald's had got McFooled to the point where they had to pay 50 cents more or whatever it is. That you're going to hear about that because now they're trying to quietly sue the chicken distributors or the companies that was giving the chicken to the McDonald Corporation. But the thing that got me, we know that McDonald's, because of what they're doing now, they put an extra tax on that and gave it to the black distributors. And the McDonald's trying to get their money back from where they got McFood, but want to keep all the money that they add on to the tax to McFood the black distributors. You follow what I'm saying? So my thing is, they greedy. They greedy. They greedy just like somewhere in that scripture when Jesus had the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish, and then you had the individual that was hoarding the food. They greedy. And I'm glad this venue that we talking on, we know that it's being monitored by McDonald's. And we glad. Because we're going to show you who you are. And understand this. Greed breeds criminality. Understand what I'm saying? Greed breeds criminality. So you gonna get right. We beyond telling you better get right. We let you know that you gonna get right. Because one thing that you may not be paying attention to, that vice was a very strong global investigative story.
Yes, it was.
And when I heard President Biden mention the wrong that McDonald's doing, and in the same breath, understanding the evil of systemic racism, we see you as apartheid in the Western Hemisphere. And you're going to get right. Letters have been written by other congressmen to Maxine Waters, who is the chairman of the Financial Services, and they demanded a hearing on corporate systemic racism and the guest of honor. It's going to be McDonald's.
Okay.
The state legislative body, like the representative is telling you, they're going to be able to do the same things around the country. Because now they learn it. And now, the wonderful thing about this Passover, which everybody call global COVID-19, the global pandemic, it has seasoned our mind because it gave us time to think and see the wrong that has been done to us as a people. And like I say, you ain't gonna be able to get away. That's done.
Okay.
That's done.
And don't think also that we're gonna ever allow any of our substantial members in our community stand out by themselves. The Byrd brothers are not alone.
That's right.
You knuckleheads need to know that. They're not alone.
Thank you.
Okay? The Byrd brothers are not alone. I'll tell you one time, they're not alone. And don't get to picking on them because we can go to another level.
Right.
We go another route. Okay? We are with them. This community is with them. And we're going to stand there and we're going to applaud their courage. We're going to spend our time, our efforts, our resources, our money. We're going to do what's necessary to make you all settle this deal in the right manner. Pigs get fat, as old folks say, and hogs get slaughtered. It's about time for you all to be slaughtered in our community.
So let me.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jim.
When you said that, I lost my train of thought.
You know,
Well, we coming though.
I was just thinking as
there was
talking.
there's another piece to this puzzle, right? And I woke Brother Gator up to it this morning when after he saw the Vice News piece and President Biden was talking about the unions and McDonald's, and you know, so we on our way to see James Hoffa, the president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, that had that conversation on, you know what I mean, how do we work together in unison, you know what I mean, and bring unionization into the quick service restaurant industry. And then how do we undo what McDonald's did in 2019 where they got the joint employer ruling reversed and put the unionization on the franchisees. They didn't McFool the NLRB. That they not the dictators of the franchise system that they created, because they don't. The McDonald's controls everything. So So let's get that ruling reversed with the NLRB and put the unionization back on the franchisor, and let's see how this fight for 15 we can make it happen. You know what I mean? In a few shakes of the salt shaker. You know.
Mm-hmm. You know, I got that old timers disease. They call it sometimers, but what happens with arrogance sometimes is we heard a response that all of a sudden when you file a lawsuit, then all of a sudden you're a bad guy.
Oh no.
I have been a operator for some 32 years. My business performance has always been stellar, as well as Darrell's. All across the country, the brothers and sisters are doing their thing every day. We're required to do the same things, but make less money. Now, one thing we haven't spoken about today was we were instrumental in helping another 77 Black operators. They also have a lawsuit against McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
77 all across the country. And probably we shouldn't even talk about that, but the record speaks for itself. There's another brother who filed his separate lawsuit, brother named Herb Washington, dynamic brother, pro baseball player, former baseball player. He has a separate lawsuit. So there's a lot of injustice going on, a lot of people standing up. But all of a sudden, the arrogance is all those 77 are bad operators. All of a sudden, Darrell and I are bad operators. And it just tips my hind parts that is the arrogance when you speak out about injustice.
That's the lie they tell. That's what the police departments across the country, when they murder one of our people, they try to talk about your character, okay? After they've murdered you, they're gonna talk about your character, okay? And that's like a drowning man reaching out a straw, okay? We know you're lying when you start attacking the man.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody's standing up for what's right, they're gonna become the villain. In other words, I'm in a cage fight with a lion, and I'm gonna get a lion a pocket knife to cut me. And if I cut the lion, you can tell me I'm fighting unfairly, okay? You have lost your mind. These people have lost their mind. There's this certain kind of insanity, this arrogant insanity that they think they can get away with. But the people are not going to be McFooled that nonsense. We know who you are in our community. That's the reason I am here. We know who you are in this community. They can't tell us anything about you. You ask me about you and your brother. Ask me how long you've been faithful to this community. They can't come in this community. They have no credibility. They have no credit at all in this community, at all. They're the liars. They're the cheaters. So they always got to point the finger and try to reverse the psychology. We know who the Byrd brothers are. We know who Kahari is. We know who Brother Bradley is. We know our people. So don't bring that nonsense because we're not buying. But I'm going to tell you something else. All these stars they got around here that wants to jump in this fight, if they're not on the right side of this fight, we're coming after their butts too.
Right.
We don't care who in the hell they are. Okay, if they're not on the right side of this fight, we got to deal with you because this is dealing with real money for our communities. Okay, we're coming after you. So you better think twice. You better think twice. I don't care who it is. We're going to come after you for messing with our people in this community that's doing good business and being cheated.
All across the country.
You know, what you're seeing here is a new movement. Like Brother Gator said, this is a new way that we are strategically going and looking at issues. But what I want to get back to why we are here, because we're still talking about the same thing that we were talking about in 1998 when I came in, the same thing in 1984, and the same thing in 1968, documented court cases. We're talking about a system that was designed to, in some way, when you look at all the numbers, the African-American owner-operators pay a higher percentage of rent to our franchisor, which is McDonald's. McDonald's is a huge real estate company. They live and breathe and they thrive on rent and service fees. So it really doesn't matter if it's me or whoever's really in there. What's really important to the corporation is that store producing rent and service fees, producing money for us for 20 years, nonstop, and it continues to go up. So now we are saying we are an integral part of this economy. We are an integral part of this business economy. When you look at a group of people who literally built, many would say, the greatest economy in the world. Black people were in this country building the greatest economy in the world. And when you look at how much we participate in that, well, it's just a sin. And because of that, because of that evil. There's no way you can even look at it and say, well, it's for 400 years, they haven't been smart enough, or they haven't been able to jump high enough, or when they open the books, their words don't read. There's no more excuses. Wrong is wrong, right is right. And so I listened today to Brother Gator and Kahari fielding phone from entertainers, just saying, like, what can I do? Because they're coming because we are not asking for anything. We're not asking people for money. We're not asking for anything. We're just saying, each one teach one. Tell somebody what we're telling you. Educate somebody to the facts of what we're telling you. And so they're fielding phone calls just to give you an idea of the way that people are coming, embracing this new movement. We have the right to vote. We have the right to buy houses where we want to, but we don't have the right to have access to capital in this country yet. And that is the last piece that I want to fight on until I leave this earth. It's Black people having access to capital and having the opportunity to build wealth for the generations that I don't even know about yet, so that when I leave here, what I leave continues.
Hey, gentlemen. Well,
let me finish that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we created Equity for All, because we want to bring equity to all, you know what I mean? And we got to start, you know what I mean? They say you got to take care of home first. Well, we're gonna take care. We got to take care of the Black community first. Everybody else is ahead of us anyway. So you know what I mean. We just trying to catch up. And so you know what I mean. We said the Citibank a little over a week ago to the chairman of Citibank and John. Him and Jane Frazier, John Dugan, and we said to them, let's sit down, let's talk about how Citibank can work with us to create this Black franchise minority fund and bring some equity, in the Black community. You know what I mean? They got their own issues with community reinvestment. They got their own issues with ESG financing, environmental, social, and governance. You know what I'm saying? So we're saying to them, like, let's sit down, let's talk. You know what I mean? Like, and you know what I mean? And so, we're gonna keep on, you know what I mean, we're gonna talk, and Citibank does own 1.6 million shares of McDonald's stock. So and they one of McDonald's national lenders. So, you know what I mean? Let's talk, you know what I mean? So I'm sure they all, them and McDonald's been talking anyway, because like I said, they own 1.6 million shares of McDonald's stock. They one of McDonald's national lenders. One of the institutions that actually is, embracing what we're saying is the New York State Comptroller's Office, Scott M. Stringer. And so their chief diversity officer has been working with us. And so we, we moving things, and they're for McDonald's implementing the programmatic changes. And the state of New York does own over 2 million shares of McDonald's stock. They've been holding McDonald's accountable for boardroom diversity, EEOC compliance as it relates to diversity. Even, with the sexual harassment with Steve Easterbrook. So New York is, is proactive, and they're very, activist investors. So we're gonna keep that conversation moving. Okay. Like Brother Gator said that, we sent the letter to the Congressional Black Caucus chair, Joyce Betty. CC'd all the 57 of the Congressional Black Caucus members, as well as the congressional delegation from Tennessee. And so we've been following up with Congressman Steve Cohen, who is, he basically told us, don't stop, and this is what I'm able to do for you. And what he was able to do for us is to push Congresswoman Maxine Waters and Congresswoman Joyce Betty in the House Financial Services Committee to call that hearing that Brother Gator was talking about on corporate systemic racism, so that we can get McDonald's C-suite board of directors and these national and regional lenders under oath, and ask them some questions about this financial engineering, this systemic racism that they've been promoting and benefiting from, prospering from, actually, exponentially though. And so we're gonna keep this, we're gonna keep this movement going, when Jim and Darrell and I was at the late De'Armond Bailey's funeral, President Clinton gave a eulogy, and in the eulogy, he said that one thing about the movement, it never stopped moving, and so this movement, it ain't gonna stop moving until we are at that point where we can say that we are being, fairly treated, equitably treated, and so we just gonna keep on moving. Like I said, we got it's one thing to say something, it's another thing to do something. And so, like I said, earlier today we hit our third stop on McDonald's 10 field offices, and we got 7 more to go. So we ain't just talking about it, we being about it. You know what I'm saying? Like Master P, said, we about it. Yeah, we about it. You know what I mean? We gonna keep it. We're gonna do the hootie hoo. We're gonna do the soldier dance. Listen, we're gonna soldier this thing. You know what I mean? We're gonna put it on our back. You know what I mean?
Right.
And strap it on, and strap it on tight. You know what I'm saying? Because listen. Listen. There's nothing about the executives at McDonald's that says that they're invincible. There's nothing about the executives at McDonald's that say that they're better than us, that they're smarter than us. There's nothing about the executives at McDonald's that's going to make us take a defeatist attitude. We came to win. I ain't, listen, like my partner, Brother Gator, late brother Jimmy used to always tell me, say, we ain't come here to book no losers. Listen, we booking winners, you know what I mean? And the Byrd brothers, they winners. They just never been given a fair opportunity to stack the chips on their side of the table. You know what I mean? The house been winning. That's the McDonald's. They the house. And they've been stacking the chips in their favor. You know what I mean? The Byrd brothers, they stack been dwindling. You know what I mean? McDonald's stack has been matriculating. So we finna see if we can't make them stacks equal out.
Make the odds even, huh?
Yeah. Listen, they had a wonderful thing. I ain't listening. And they got away with it for as long as they could get away with it.
Right. Well, gentlemen, let me do this. I appreciate everybody and what they've contributed to the conversation for tonight. So I want to take us now into a direction that we've been kind of dancing around this issue, and so I believe in going directly in on it. There's been a lot of references made tonight about systemic racism, okay? And those of listeners out there and viewers who have heard some of my past shows, that's we go all in. We make a beeline to talk about systemic racism, and we're not gonna falter on that tonight. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and put this question out to all you gentlemen. So with the recent verdict with George Floyd, I want to ask each of you, do you feel a sense of empowerment for your cause? Think about that for a second, let it marinate, and just jump right in.
I do. And I'm saying that because until I saw the trial and realized the power of them two that had the spirit of two young women, Harriet Tubman type and Rosa Parks type women, even though one was 18 and one was 9 years old. The spirit that God put in a 9-year-old to be able to sit at a trial and not be afraid and say that man murdered that black man and I told him to stop. That dispelled the generational gap of our struggle for parity, generational understanding that the fight gonna always be, and we gotta always be prepared for the fight. That decision came down, and what I say, diversified justice is justice for all. That jury was based on the evidence that was presented to them, because they used that phone from every angle. That's by the grace of God that guided them to get it from this angle, from that angle. Then they realized there was other cell phones that was getting it from that angle to the point they saw where it was 4 police officers as opposed to 1. When that verdict came down, I was in Chicago at a shoe shine stand, getting a shine, because I'm on my way here. And a news channel, CBS, Chicago, drove up because they were trying to get the pulse for people in the community. And they stopped by this shoe shine stand called Boss Shine, and they came in. And what grabbed them was the silence, where they saw black men silent, wanted to hear every word. To the point they heard black men standing there, wasn't talking about no baseball game, was listening to every word. Because everyone in the world, not just the United States, was focused to understanding. By the grace of God, I want you to hear me. I ain't advocating, but they were understanding that if justice wasn't served, that they were prepared for the consequences of what was going to come, whatever would have been. And they went right back to systemic racism across the land. Eradication of systemic racism. Help us bring laws of parity for everyone. That's the call. We all got to work together, united in peace, to help eradicate systemic racism across the board. From what the President of the United States said, for what governors are saying across the land, for state representatives are saying. Yes, we feel a strength, because we see a generation that's about to come that have became, in my word, have became the shoulders that I could stand on. When I heard that young 9-year-old and that 18-year-old give testimony, I felt as if I was standing on their shoulders. Yeah, we strong and we empowered. Yeah, that's my opinion. And hey, man, like I say, to God be the glory. That's my story. That's it. Yes, I do.
I'm gonna. Gator, you did a wonderful job in trying to capsule that. I just want to comment. When I heard the news, I was listening to CNN News. I was driving down the expressway, and I had to stop because my heart was full and tears began to just come down. And you realize the significance that we watched a police officer on film murder a man. We watched a system, American system, hold that police officer guilty in our lifetime. And I'm 65 years old. And I know I stand on the shoulders of many, many, many. And that verdict showed me that there was accountability. Accountability. But the struggle continues. And like the one guy said, this was not really about somebody's heart
being too big.
Being too big. It was about a man's heart being too small.
Showbiz heart.
No love and no compassion. And so as I embrace what I've seen, I know that the struggle for systemic racism continues. And the systemic racism, not just McDonald's, but in all the companies, in every situation, we got to fight that. And I will continue to fight for the generations that come after us, because we're only here for a short time. And we stand on many, many shoulders who got us to this point. So our task is to continue this journey and to continue to build younger people, lift them up. And we're doing our part. And as I always say, if not now, when?
Yeah,
If not
somewhat,
who?
If not us, who? Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was struck by, I guess I would say I was one of those that I was very skeptical, because if you look at the lot of our people in this country, we've been, if it were anybody else, you would say, man, they have been abused. The Jim Crow laws, the slavery, the brutality of the way that Black people have had to live, you would say these people have been terrorized. They live with daily trauma. And so I was skeptical, because I've seen it happen before. I don't care what the evidence looked like. I've seen it happen before, where nothing happens. A slap on the hand. There's no justice for a Black man. That's what I used to always believe. But no justice in this country. It's just us that are brutalized. So we're living in a very traumatic time. And so when I heard that he was actually guilty of 3 times, and I think it should be more, because I had never in my life thought I would see the day when a man would be killed on television. A man would look just like me, slowly. They brutally killed him slowly. I don't know what message it was, but I'm gonna tell you what I got from it. What I saw that day was pure evil. And it seemed like the same evil that, as I've looked through history and read through history and listened to my mother and father and listened to my grandparents, my grandfather on my dad's side, I never got a chance to meet him because he was killed by a police officer when my dad was 3. So he grew up without a dad, but he knew that he always wanted to be a good father. But that part of him was always missing. For a lot of them, brother and I, are sick because he never got a chance to meet his dad. He was killed. And so it's in my family. It's in our brutalized, terrorized. But I realize that our spirit, when it's evil, and when you have love in your heart and your spirit is real and it's true as ours, our spirits are true. We're speaking truth. We're bringing you the truth. We're not making anything up. We're so powerful and directed by God that we don't have to make anything up. We don't have to, no riddles, no rhymes. We're just giving you some facts that you provided to us. And I don't even know if those are the real facts. Maybe the numbers we've been quoted, that we're 900,000 below in sales. That's not a coincidence. That we're $140,000 in cash flow less. That's not a coincidence. So maybe those numbers aren't even real. Maybe that's why they need to be examined more, because we've been brutalized. But even with that, the spirit of our people we want to give you our best. We give you our best in the midst of everything, in the midst of being brutal. We're not even supposed to be able to read. And my brother over here, he's a state representative and has been for a long time. Some of our people get locked away and abused like animals. They come back and lead because you can't stop what God gives. You can call my brother and I, oh, they've mismanaged some funds. Man, I looked at your CEO and it looked like you all made some mismanagement of decisions with the people you had in power. The CEO, come on. So, I'm thinking of these things, but I'm encouraged because I see hope. I don't see any flicker in anyone's eye. When I look at Gator, when I look at my brother Joe, State Representative Mr. Towns, I call him my brother Joe. When I look at my brother, when I look at Mr. Nash, Kahari, the chief, I don't see anything but fire in those eyes. The fire to lead, the fire to do something now. See, we've been the patient role. We did that. We read your books. We studied your numbers. We've done that. I went in the trash can. I counted the mustard packets, the ketchup packets. I squeezed all of it out. The mac sauce to see, can I get some pennies here and there? Little did I know that there's millions of dollars that they're hiding from me because I'm down there in the trash can looking for those pennies. But now my eyes are opened and I'm not looking for pennies anymore. I'm just looking for what's ours. We're not asking for anything except to be equal, like any man. Even animals want to be equal. We want our equality now, economic equality. We don't just want it, it's due. It's due.
Well, when you ask the question about systemic racism, and I appreciate you not shying away from that question. And first thing, the verdict, I knew what verdict was due because we all watched it. We saw what happened. We saw what occurred. Had there been a dog that he put his knee on like that for 2 minutes, okay, they would have tarred and feathered the showman, okay? But as Brother Byrd said, we've been here so many times over the years, over the last 450 years, we've been there many times and nothing happened. Hell, they hadn't even solved the murder of Dr. King. They didn't solve the murder of Emmett Till until so many 50, 60 years later. There have been kids, there was a kid killed here many years ago by the name of, it wasn't Emmett Till here, but it was Elton Hayes in the city of Memphis, Tennessee. Cops did it, okay, in this town. Never any prosecution, okay? This is one out of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of African Americans, not really millions when you talk about the slave trade, okay? Those are kidnappings and murders as well, all right? We're grateful, okay? We know you have the capacity to do what's right. The system did work this time. One in a million times it worked, okay? But that's just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. We need to see this kind of follow through, and police is being held accountable for the things they do to the African American community every time they do it. Now, and we're not against police officers. They're in our families. They're our friends. We hang out together. We're boys, okay? The difference is that black cops don't treat white kids that way. White cops going to have to figure out that it's going to be necessary that they treat African American people the way they treat white people. All you have to do is police us the same way. You see white people pull guns on cops. You see them go in and shoot up churches and be taken to the McDonald's, okay? You see, don't get killed now, okay? You see them walking down the street with these AK-47 and rides and running through with cars and nothing happens to them because they hate you. Some of the officers hate African-American people, okay? They know how to do better, but until you make sure that the weight of this government, the weight of the system is put on their butts, they're never going to do right. When they violate it and commit crime, send their butts to jail for a long time, just like you do African American people and other citizens. And we know there's a lot of risks in this job, but you sign on to do it. And as I said, this is not anti-cop, so don't get that started. Don't get that nonsense started. I'm not for defunding no damn police officers. We need more cops in our community to do it right, but we want to be treated fair, minus that terrorism, minus that ignorance, minus that hate. What you saw is, as my brother said, evil. You saw hate in that man's eyes. He was trying to murder that man. But what I hold accountable for also those young punk cops around him that would not get him off of. See, if I'm a cop, you couldn't do another man like that in front of me. You're gonna get your butt up off this man. I'm a cop, and you're gonna stand there and let me be complicit in that nonsense? Hell no. They stood around like a bunch of little punks and allowed that man to take the life out of that man, okay? This is what people don't realize. Go back and look at the film, brother.
Mm-hmm.
There's water coming out from under the car. And most people don't know what that is. When that water comes out from under that car, what it was, that man was dead because he peed on himself.
Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
Your body, when you die, there's no muscle control.
That's right.
So you defecate and you urinate. Okay, I knew he was dead then, without it even being announced. He was dead then because the body function just don't function. He's gone. And that dirty dog put his hand in his pocket, grind that man's neck, got leverage, and them punks stood around and allowed that to go down. They all are complicit. All of them have to pay for that. All of them have to pay for that. Every one of them have to pay for that. He took Brother Floyd's life. He took his own at the same time. My grandmother always told me, if you dig a hole for one man, you better dig two. That's right. Because you're gonna fall in that one before that person you're digging it for. So he dug his own hole. I'm not grateful for a fair verdict. It ought to be something that we experience as the norm in this country. We have to demand that you treat us right. The board versus Brown versus the Board of Education. We have to go to court to fight to get equal education. Plessy versus Ferguson. These cases go all the way back in this country. We have had to fight every step of the way when everybody has taken advantage of our free labor, stole us, kidnapped us, managed to steal hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of labor. If you had a business, you had free labor for 100 years, you'd be a gazillionaire too. And then still a country, okay? And make people work for free, all right? And we can't make any money trying to do it the right way. You're moaning and groaning that people sell dope, and I don't condone that. I hate dope in my community. But when you have legitimate businessmen, you don't want to treat them right. So what the hell do you want to do? We're not going to die and go away because you hate people. Systemic racism, brothers, also is not just with police officers.
Listen.
It's everywhere, from astrology to zoology. Every aspect of this country is woven into the fabric to take advantage of Black people, minority people, and poor people. They don't give a damn about poor white folk either.
That's right.
Systemic racism is in housing, it's in banking, it's in the insurance companies, in the grocery store, it's in the gasoline business, it's everywhere you go. Systemic means it's throughout the doggone system of this country. And so we have to identify it and fight it everywhere it is. Right. That's a lot of fighting. But all that means there's a lot of work for a lot of us to do, because they have managed to keep resources out of our hands. I'm going to tell you a story that Dr. King talked about many years ago when it comes to cotton. Brother Byrd, you talked about it earlier. Black hands and labor made this country the richest country in the world by the picking of cotton. We became #1 in the world with our military, with a lot of our accomplishments because of Black labor in this country. What did we get? Kicked in the britches, okay? Nothing. No 40 acres on the mule, no 40 acres on the Clydesdale. We got nothing. They flipped the system and start trying to figure out how to, and this is coming back to bite us, how to find slave labor, and they started outshoring stuff, going to China and all these other places. Now China is rich, as more powerful than we are, because they were looking for slave labor to do their bidding then. Didn't want to pay a fair wage, so they offshore. Now they're a problem. We created that monster. They have done this stuff over and over again because they're greedy and they are hateful. And they want to make a difference in your skin. If you got an issue with my skin, you need to talk to God.
That's right. You better listen.
I have nothing to do with it, and I wouldn't change it anyway. How you come here is how God sent you here. Embrace that and embrace his world that he's created. If so happened he come back with nappy hair like the book says, feet baked in an oven, fire red, and if he happened to be a brother, what the hell are you gonna do then? If he happened to look like a brother. That's what that book says that I believe in. Okay? The fact of it is that systemic racism is everywhere in this country, and they have exported it all over the world. It's in Africa. You brothers have been over there trying to do business. You brothers have been around the country trying to do business. They have exported that brand of nonsense all over the world. In Germany, brothers in the war, they told them brothers had tails. We had them, okay? But the deal of it is that they've exported and tried to derogatorily depict us all over the world. And some of the other groups, Asian people and some other folk, buy into this nonsense. It's an Anglo-Saxon lie that's been told on us. The inventions that we created in this country, the labor, all the stuff. We have not been paid for it.
That's right.
Stuff stolen, houses bombed, innocent people. Blood is running high on the ledger. In God's ledger, innocent blood is running high. Innocent blood is running high in this country. And we're not going to tolerate the nonsense anymore. The younger people definitely thank God for them. They're not interested in ignorance of their parents and their foreparents. Thank God they'll come out and stand up and fight for what they think is what's right in this country, and they're not afraid. In the Black Lives Matter movement, you saw more white young kids up front in that movement than you did in the 60s and the 60s and the 50s when people were fighting for civil rights. When we were fighting for civil rights in this country, you had a sprinkle of white people. Right. Now you have a ton of young white people in the movement. When the Klan march, you can't get in the march for the young white kids down there fighting the Klan. Thank God they have the courage to stand up and do what's right. They're not following that ignorant playbook of their parents and their grandparents. You love your people, but when you're wrong, you're wrong.
That's right.
It will cease because we're not going to stop fighting systemic racism. Get on board, help with it, and save this country. We're trying to save this country. Once you break it, it's hard to put it back together if you could put it back together. Fight the good fight, make, as Brother Lewis said, the good trouble, and save the country that we all love. Everybody's blood is in this country. Everybody's giving something to this country to make this country great. Black folk is giving tons and tons and tons, such as Native Americans giving tons and tons to make this country great, but we have not reaped the benefits of it. There again, that's a crooked deal. That's a crooked deal. What I'd like for you, the Byrd brothers, to do, and Kahari, to make sure we tell people how they can contact us and reach us and how to stay tuned for stuff that we're doing. People may want to figure out and know exactly how to track us. So please provide that information for the listening audience so they can assist and stay abreast. And also, y'all help. You're smart out there in the listening audience. Send letters to the right places. Flood McDonald with calls. Let them know that you all supporting this lawsuit against the mistreatment of the Byrd brothers in the class action lawsuit. Send letters. And if you happen to hear of us doing a march or a protest in front of these places, be with us. We need you all to stick and stay with this fight because it's a righteous fight. Like Brother Lewis said, it's good trouble. Right. And they've already made it and gone on, transition. So now it's our time to make some good trouble.
That's right.
It's good trouble time.
Gentlemen, I gotta say, I am, as always, I am floored.
That was strong.
I know that my listeners are floored, and we support you. So, just as the good representative just mentioned, one of the things that we do is we provide in our descriptor for every episode, we provide links, we provide contact information. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to follow up so that when our listeners chime in, all they have to do is jump into the descriptor for this particular episode, and they'll find ways to support, ways to send emails, ways to give a call. And so I'll make certain that I collect all contact information from everyone on the panel so that we can make sure that we get that out to everybody. So, gentlemen.
Very good.
I've got to say thank you.
Thank you.
But I really feel that I really wish that I could say more. But thank you right now. I'll have to suffice for now. But if there's anything that I can do to help to promote and continue to fighting the good fight and making good trouble, then that's what we do here at the GENx podcast, the GENx Revolution.
Keep sharing to the social media and ask them to share to the social media. You get more power because we're not asking for no money.
True.
We get net worth from networking.
Okay.
Fighting on our own. We're fighting it on our own.
All right.
Because it's right. Stand up.
Stand
on it. Stand on what's right. Be a man, don't be afraid. Fear. False evidence appearing real. It ain't real. If they do you this way, and you're not fighting, what you think they're gonna do if you start fighting? You get more respect.
Yeah.
You gotta fight, baby.
If I sign off, this is Jim Byrd. I just want to say thank you very much for your time. If not now, when?
Listen,
If not now, when?
Listen, put some respect on our name.
Yeah. Bird man.
Oh my God. I remember that one, Kahari.
Little bird.
Listen. And for them ones out there, listen, listen, all skin folk ain't kin folk. You understand me? So them Uncle Toms and them stepping fetches at the Bird, like I say, listen, them ain't our kin folk. Don't listen to them. They drank the Kool-Aid. They got drunk. And listen, we woke, we sober, and we going all the way to the end zone. Listen, this is Super Bowl. We ain't got but one. Listen, hey, we was in Nashville. I forgot to say this when we was in Nashville, right? Well, it was in Nashville, Tennessee, that John Lewis and my man Byrd, right, learned how to peacefully protest. Right there. And it was my cousin, the late Reverend Dr. Kelly Miller Smith Sr., who taught them how to peacefully protest. You understand? He was one of the founding board members of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He was the president of the NAACP Nashville. He was assistant dean at the dean of the School of Divinity at Vanderbilt. Well, it was him who called Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King while he was in Birmingham and told him, I'm sending the boy down there. His name John Lewis. He's from Troy, Alabama. I want you to take care of him. Well, then listen, I'm the boy that told the Byrd boys, listen, I'm gonna take care of you. Listen, just stick with me. Listen, we going all the way.
Right. Yeah.
You know, listen, like I told y'all earlier, listen, like Gator brother told me the Lake Rook, listen, baby, we don't book no losers.
That's right. Book no losers.
All right, gentlemen.
So, what Kahari's saying, the fight for freedom is in this DNA.
Right.
This is our hard in our DNA from way back. We built for something just like this, Jack. So y'all, and we're gonna take it. We definitely gonna take it.
Gentlemen, I tell you, the microphone is smoking. Ready? So, with that one, gentlemen, I salute you, and we stand with you, and we thank you. We thank you for fighting the good fight, and just know that all you got to do is look over your shoulder, and you'll see us standing right behind you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Amen.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Godspeed, and we'll be in touch. I kind of got this feeling that we're going to be seeing each other again in this format.
Good. Yeah. Listen, we got a lot more of these to do. They're gonna do it. Listen. We finna bring. Listen, they have forgotten a few elements of our community, right? But listen, we're gonna reach out there and grab them from behind the walls, behind the fences, and we're gonna tell them, listen, we ain't throwing y'all away. We trying to bring y'all home to something that's actually solid, legal, and beneficial to you. And them our brothers that's in the prisons. You know what I mean? Listen, this is another McFOOLED moment. I'm gonna give you this, and then I'm gonna be through. Okay. Listen, they took the policy from us and called it the lottery. You understand? Yeah. Now they make billions of dollars off what they locked us up for. Okay? Then they took the whiskey. We call it moonshine. You know? And they say, okay, well, we're gonna call it prohibition, right? And we're gonna take it from all the bootleggers, right? So all the white bootleggers became what they call distributors, wholesalers. You understand? All right. And then they went on down the supply chain and they called the ones that were selling them retailers. Right?
Yes, sir.
But they sent us all to jail and said we were bootlegging.
Yeah.
We were selling whiskey without a license because they couldn't tax it. You understand? So that was another McFool moment, right? I'm gonna give you a little more McFool, right? This is just the way we've been tricked all our lives, right?
Sure.
Okay. So then they took the marijuana and criminalized it.
Yeah.
Put all out
for almost a century, right? For a century, they criminalized marijuana, right? And we became the greatest numbers in the prison population for what? Marijuana.
Joints.
Right?
Joint.
So now they decriminalized it and legalized it. What's our representation for the ones that built this marketplace that they call legalized, medicinal? You understand? Listen, this is the McFool that y'all got. Listen, y'all got to wake up, people. Listen, they done tricked us. Listen, they locked us up, put us in the chain, and put us on the chain gang and told us that was wrong. We shouldn't have been doing that. With the same stroke of a pen that they made it criminal, they decriminalized it, and now they making billions. They're making billions. They're making billions of dollars off this marijuana that they told us, listen, you're going to get 20 years, you're going to get 30 years, you're going to get 40 years, you're going to get life.
Amazing. Dirty pool.
But now they're going to make money for the rest of their lives and for the rest of their generations off the entire marketplace that was built on the backs of black men that went to jail at 10 times the rate as white people.
Yeah.
Don't be McFool.
You know, the funny part of what about all that, and we really appreciate the historical aspect there, Kahari, but just a little bit more history for you. Did you know that the Declaration of Independence was printed on hemp paper?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's because it has the most longevity.
And you know, some of the founding fathers, including Benjamin Franklin, said that
they smoked marijuana.
Yeah, they said
they
that
tricked the Indians. Listen,
Yep.
listen. They tricked the Indians with the weed and called it the peace pipe while they was high. They said, okay, we're going to take these Indians, we're going to put them on a reservation, and now we're going to take all this land around the reservation, and it's ours.
Yeah.
Don't be McFool.
Don't be McFool. I got it. Gentlemen, I've got to rest the mic. We got to save something for another time.
Mike,
go ahead and drop it, man.
Man, we got to rest the mic. I tell you,
Great
this
job.
is, gentlemen, I so do appreciate you. I know that my listeners appreciate you. And we will meet again. We will meet again virtually. I absolutely promise you. Gentlemen, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Godspeed. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.